7 o'clock. And we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Up next, we have roll call. Ms. Martinez?
All counselors present and a quorum has been declared.
Thank you. Up next, we have the agenda approval. Councilor Vigil.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Not? Okay, trying to vote, but okay, there we go. Vote, everybody. Ms. Martinez?
The motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. We have citizen comments. This is the portion of the agenda where if you would like to make any comments, we have these comment cards that you need to fill out. But Counselor, sorry, getting feedback, so I don't know if it's the volume, but I have one comment card. Mr. Cooper, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to take a moment tonight and congratulate the winners of the city council race yesterday, Mr. Coleman, Mr. Carson, Mr. Vigil, and now Mr. Woodward. And I would like to thank those who ran, Mr. Batista and Ms. Smith. I think it's important to be involved in our community. And I think some of the recent events over the years, and we have these controversies or issues that come up, and then people say, why didn't I know about that? We need to stay involved. And I guess I'm telling the citizens of Alamosa, get involved, call a councilman, come to the city council meetings, show your support or non-support for what's happening in our community. Recently, of course, the big one has been the Main Street issue, and I know there was a lot of input on that, but I know there were some, and myself, I was not at any of those meetings. But we need to be more involved, and that's all I had to say tonight, but thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so Ms. Martinez, would you like to open it up for any of the Zoom participants to see if we have any hands raised for people who would like to make any comments?
Yes, sir. So if you're on the Zoom app and you want to make a comment at this time, go ahead and use the raise your hand feature or dial *9 if you're on a telephone.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so I'll go ahead and close the citizen comment section. And we'll go to ceremonial items. We have the Alamosa Senior Citizens Week Proclamation. If there's anyone with the Alamosa Senior Citizen who would like to come up here and say a few words, then we'll read the proclamation.
Well, we at the Alamosa Senior Citizens are celebrating our 50th anniversary. We started meeting in 1970 and incorporated in 1971. We could have done it last year, but we probably wouldn't have anybody at the building. It was just that kind of year. So we decided to wait until 1971, where we did incorporate and celebrate with great joy just many years of caring service to the Alamosa and San Luis Valley citizens, our older population. And I think we've come a long way since then. We started out in the old depot building. We're now in a new building with a new room addition. And so we've come a long way. And we appreciate the city council considering a proclamation for us.
Thank you so very much. So what I'm going to do is see if council have any comments, and then if not, since Councilor Brawl serves on that committee, we're going to have him read the proclamation tonight. Then we'll go down and take a picture, okay? Any comments from any council members? Okay, all right. Councilor Henson?
I would just say that I think you all do a phenomenal job. I've, in the years, through students and things like that, have been somewhat involved here and there. I won't say it's been consistent, but the energy at the senior center is just fantastic. And I am just very grateful that our community has a place like that. And thank you all for all you do to make it so strong.
Okay, and I too would like to thank you for everything that you all do for the seniors in our community, and you all have some really cool trips. I'm gonna take one of these days. So look, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So thank you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Councilor Brawls read the proclamation, and then we'll come down and take a picture with your group.
I too appreciate the senior citizens. It's a great job for our community. The City of Alamosa Proclamation, Alamosa Senior Citizen Center Week, recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Alamosa Senior Citizen Center. Whereas Alamosa Senior Center opened their doors in the old depot building, October 6, 1970. In March of 1971, the Alamosa Senior Board of Directors incorporated. And whereas the mission of the Alamosa Senior Center is to provide a place for senior citizens to meet socially, recreational, cultural, educational, health, and nutritional needs, to foster an environment through caring service that will also promote dignity, independence, and a sense of purpose for older adults, as well as to have an opportunity to participate in a rewarding volunteer program. And whereas in 1970, Bessie Jones wrote, the cooperation of city, county organizations and individuals in making possible this new program for the older citizens, the outstanding success it is. We, the officers and members, are most grateful and appreciate it. And whereas we here at Alamosa Senior Citizens believe this statement to be as true today as it was 50 years ago. Now, therefore, the City Council of Alamosa does hereby proclaim the week of November 7th through the 14th, 2021 as Alamosa Senior Citizen Center Week, and encourages the community and members to participate in the events of this historic celebration. Signed, Ty Coleman, Mayor.
right, good job, council. Thank you, Council Brawls. Okay, that brings us to the next item on our agenda is we have consent calendar A.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent calendar A.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? If not, let's please start voting. Ms. Martinez?
The motion carried unanimously.
Good. Okay. Up next, we have on the agenda, we have a presentation from an outside agency, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, a Culture of Health Prize. Quite sure that's going to be, oh, wow, there we go. We got a whole group. All right, good job. Andy, I'll let you take the lead.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening,
You're welcome.
Council, Mayor. Let me first introduce our guests. We have Patrick Ortiz with San Luis Valley Great Outdoors, Liza Marone with San Luis Valley Local Foods Coalition, and Mick Daniel with San Luis Valley Great Outdoors. These folks are here tonight to tell you about the incredible effort and work they put in to secure this award for our community and the extraordinary level of community collaboration that we have here. So I'd like them to say a few words and then we have a short video for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you, Council. This is really an effort that's been going on for the last 30 years in the Alamosa County community. And we're just at this final step of telling the story of really the intentionality and the support that our community gives to one another, you know, from folks who are struggling, you know, paying their bills, being able to pay the rent, all the way to people struggling with opioid addiction. So many organizations and individuals and advocates help make this a successful application and a national recognition that deserves esteem and deserves a lot of recognition. Really, the only other communities in the Mountain West that have received this are Lake County, which is where Leadville is, and Taos, Pueblo. So we're in some elite company there, at least in the center of the country. And I just have to give gratitude to, you know, every organization, not just Local Foods Coalition and San Luis Valley Great Outdoors, but La Puente, San Luis Valley AHEC, also just the Immigrant Resource Center, just so many collaborative efforts that really want to, and we were able to just showcase like the focus on preserving human dignity and human rights in our community. And this also goes to show the leadership in our local governments, our city council, our county government, that just really just hears the needs of the people and advocates for their efforts. So I think I said enough, but I just want to thank you all for allowing me to be here today. Really humbled to be able to just put this last kind of stroke of the pen on an incredible story of our community and how we just take care of each other. And the work isn't done either. There's still a lot to do. And I know you all know that. And, you know, just want to let you know that you have our support. And I know you all have our backs as well. And let's just keep this momentum going for our community and recognize that it radiates out to the rest of the San Luis Valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
I might add a word because I can't help myself. Liza Marin, and I just wanted to also say that one of the stories that we told was a city council story where we had the healthy eating, active living resolution that we passed, and then that was about supporting local food, supporting outdoor exercise whenever we could, and also really walking that talk by incorporating and sustaining the outdoor recreation specialist in John Reeser into the budget of the city of Alamosa, and how that came from the community. And then the city embraced that into a sustainable practice. And that was one of many stories we told, but that was one of the stories that they really appreciated about this community, how we work from the grassroots all the way to government and work together so well. And so I want to commend you for that and thank you. And this little video, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation actually came to our community for 3 days and walked around filming different entities that we told stories about. So I hope you enjoy it. And we would like to invite you all to a in-person event Tuesday, November 9th at 11 o'clock at the Alamosa Rec Center. There's going to be a national award ceremony that we're going to be part of with 5 other communities. We actually won this prize in 2020. However, because of COVID, they combined the 2021 winners and the 2020 winners into 10 communities that'll be recognized next Tuesday. And we have a way for you to enjoy it live stream and or come and enjoy some food and camaraderie over at the rec center from 10 to 1:30. There's a panel discussion and award ceremony. And so it's kind of a 11 to 1:30 thing, which is kind of like 2.5 hours or 1.5 hours. I'm not doing the math, but anyway, we'd love to invite you to that. And so thank you.
Thank you.
So much has already been said. That's great. So I don't know that I need to say a lot more, but yeah, thank you all for your support and ongoing support. I'd like to think that this prize isn't the end of it, but just the beginning of other great things to come. And as I said, I'm just completely humbled by the level of collaboration that happens not only in Alamosa, the town of Alamosa or city of Alamosa and the county, but also throughout the San Luis Valley. Like these organizations like San Luis Valley Local Foods, like, gosh, I mean, I saw the truck in Crestone yesterday delivering food. And I was just like, the statement is far and wide. And, when we've sat down and we've talked to funders and we've talked to other people, like they just can't believe the in-depth level of collaboration. And I've said this many times, but when I got started with Revitalize the Rio, when Julie Mordecai walked into my office and proposed this idea of like having this community effort, I was really, definitely singularly focused on thinking about trails and open space. And it ended up being just so much more because of the number of people who got involved. And it's just been a really incredible process to like step back from it and watch move. And I said this to GoCo today, this kind of kept happening. Like people didn't know who were doing what. And I think that was an incredible testament to the momentum that was moving forward with it. Like we didn't need Local Foods Coalition running it or San Luis Valley Great Outdoors running it. There were just all these partners that were kind of moving together in a similar direction. And I think this award is a focus of that. And I think very much for Eliza for pushing us to consider applying. Without her leadership and Julie Mordecai's leadership as well, we probably wouldn't have gotten here today. So just very thankful for that. But thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council, do you have any questions before we play the video?
Okay. How about you play the video, then we'll see if we have questions. Okay. All right. Wow, that's great. Okay, Counselor Hensley, followed by Counselor Carson, followed by Counselor Daniel, followed by Counselor Vehil. There go your questions. All right.
So I don't have a question. I just want to really commend, I feel the energy. I feel the excitement, the passion from this area. This is why, for me personally, why I love living in Alamosa is one of the things is we have so many different organizations and so many who volunteer and do different things for the things they have a love for. And together, it makes such a strong synergy. And so the thing is that there's so many things that we have that passion for. And if we all just did them individually, the strength would not be there as like it is now. And so this is a situation similar to how the LEAD grant, where all of these different entities got together to make something much stronger. And the same thing with the housing now, how we're trying to do affordable housing. And it's not just one entity that's doing that. And you're the epitome of what is awesome and what looks fantastic as far as how much stronger something can be when everybody works together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. Counselor Carson.
I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you for the extremely awesome collaborative efforts and everything you do to our community. I've had the pleasure of working with Liza a lot too. And through our Protect Our Water campaign, and just the willingness to help and participate and work together it's really incredible. So thank you guys very much for all you do, and thank you and congratulations on this award.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. Counselor Vehil, then Counselor Daniel. Or Counselor Daniel and then Counselor Vehil. Okay.
Either.
Okay.
So really, this is an amazing award. And what I appreciate about those of you who have led and worked with those who led before you and are building upon that is that you are allowing our community to talk about its resources and not its scarcity. And I think that's something that I value in each and every one of you for sure, because it can be really easy to sometimes have the hardships of living in the San Luis Valley, of living in an Alamosa be our forefront of our thought. And what you bring to the table is talking about the resources and the value we have. And I think that is such a tremendous impact. It has such a tremendous impact on our culture, on our health, on our well-being, and on our mental health. And I do have the little prescription pads, Liza, we have them at Valleyway. So I love that. And then I was talking even before the meeting about how our community lifts each other up and our community is there for one another. And so when you're talking about that, it's not just something that only I believe, it's something that we believe in our community. And I think I'm very thankful to have community members like all of you to help bring us together and to help push us forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Daniel. Counselor Vehil, then Counselor Griego, then Counselor Brawls.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations. Such a tough award to get. And I don't think we truly understand the how big this is for the Valley and Alamosa. So congratulations and thank you for your hard work on that. I went to college with Patrick and I met Mick Daniel when I was in school. He was kind of an early mentor to me when I was in Adams, and then got to know Liza when I was working with when I was the liaison from the city to the farm park board. And sometimes I would walk in there like, I don't really understand, like, what's the vision? What's going on here? I was kind of just lost, like, what the hell's going on here? But seeing it come to fruition and the vision out there, and then then that I really appreciate this thing is with the equity piece, with land and the Rio Grande and homelessness and healthy living and mental health. I just like how someone like me, I can't see the vision, but you all did, and you brought it together. And that's just awesome. So I just really appreciate it. And kudos to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Vehil. Counselor Griego.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to thank you guys. For some reason, when people come to the Alamosa or even the Valley and they look at our story here, we all seem to work together. And they leave here, and that's why we could attest to Andy, the grants and the monies, because they see how people work together for the betterment of not only the city of Alamosa, but the whole San Luis Valley. And that's so important. One of the biggest things there at the farm park is the Guatemalan families that helped build that for years and years. I remember they would go and cultivate and they would plant their stuff. And now you go out there and you got a really nice building and you guys just come along, long ways. But the story of Alamosa and the San Luis Valley is something that when you get people come here, they freak out. They say, well, how do these people work together? And they do work together and they accomplish stuff. And that's how we are rewarded, because the cultures here, we all intermix together and it's so beautiful. You know, it's kept secret and it's starting to get out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Grego. Councilor Brawls.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo what all the other councilors have said. Thank you for what you've done. You've done a great job out there. I'm impressed. I've walked several of the trails. I've been at the farm over here and I think the key is now sustainability. Keep it going and just slightly improve every year. What a great thing. Maybe in 50 years we can have a celebration. So thank you.
Okay, and thank you all. I'll wrap things up. Thank you so very much and congratulations on the award. You all worked so well together. This is one award. I've read other articles and seen other videos this year from what you all have done as a team. Just continue to work together and continue to do what you're doing, and you're making a huge difference in our community. So thank you all. Okay, all right.
Thank you. And I hope that you will embrace this award as it's not congratulating us, it's congratulating all of us, because I could probably tell a story about almost every one of you up here that contributed to this. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, council. That brings us to the next item on our agenda. Board commissions, business, update from PC.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Holly and Eric, I appreciate you allowing me to come forward and tell you what we've been doing on the planning commission this past year. Maybe I can get Eric to put 1 minute up on there so I don't spend your whole night here, but we'll do this fairly quickly. I'm Mark Manzanares and I'm the chair of the planning commission. And so I'm going to come up here and let you guys know what we've been doing. First of all, I wanted to talk to you about one of the things that the comprehensive plan's goals was to discuss making a streamlined and more efficient process. To give you an example, in 2017, pre-UDC, there were 33 applications that the Planning Commission heard. This year, there were 4, maybe 5. But there were 4 that we were applications that we looked at. The UDC made most of the processes put the processes on the administration, and they were it made it more clear, predictable, fair, and consistent, as well as timely. This streamlined process enabled the Planning Commission to dive deeper into code recommendations, into planning, and we spent more time doing this than we were doing just the administrative functions, and it made it so much easier. Some of those administrative functions we did our 3-mile annexation. It's the annual discussion that we have and making recommendations. We had the housing needs assessment, an action plan. And again, that was discussion and recommendations. We had 3 variance requests, 2 about fence height, 1 about parking setback. We had 1 rezoning request that was across south of the high school. We also had our annual training that every year we try to get together to try to keep us up to date in terms of training. And we talk about defensible decision-making, due process, and ex parte communication. And then we also reviewed, discussed, and made recommendations on the developmental code changes, including RV parking, fence materials, short-term rentals, and pro-housing changes. I also want to say, take just a few seconds to talk about, Deacon and his crew. and how hard they work and have made this process so much more streamlined, so much easier to work. And his enthusiasm, you come from a hard day of work, you show up and you see Deacon and him and his staff, they're just all right there and excited to be here. And it's made this a really exciting process to be on the Planning Commission. And so I want to take a second to thank him and his staff for all the work that they've done, all of you. I really do appreciate all the work that you've done. And it makes it easier for us to show up every month and do the work that we want to do to help plan for our community and our city. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. So what I'm going to do is open it up for council for comments. If you don't mind staying just a little while longer.
Absolutely.
We'll start off with Councilor Hensley, then Councilor Daniel.
So Mark, I really appreciate everything that you and your committee does. One of the things that's fantastic is, even in the time that I've been on city council, is how much Alamosa has changed. And I don't want to quite say just grown, but it's grown and adjusted. And obviously, every year, something new and different. We want to stay on that cutting edge. And it's thanks to your group as well to understand that and to see that and to do the due diligence, but at the same time, also respect the fact and have that balance between new things and not being set in old ways, but at the same time, what's best for our community. So I know that you all put a lot of energy into that. And so I appreciate that. And also, being able to commend Deacon and things like that, that also shows that true partnership, which is also really important. So thank you so much and thanks for your hard work.
You bet.
Okay, Councilor Daniel, then Councilor Griego.
Thank you, Mayor. Mark, thank you. Thank you for sharing with us the things that you all have done. And I just want to extend our gratitude and my gratitude for you being on Planning Commission. You all have a hard job. And so that time and the thought that goes into it and the processing to ensure, like what Councilor Hensley was saying, that we keep the best in mind for Alamosa, you all are the gatekeepers for that. And I really appreciate the time, effort, and energy from the volunteers that are on the Planning Commission to help work with Deacon and Rachel and provide that guidance to us and really take that time to deep dive. And I'm excited to hear that the changes to the UDC did make your life easier. So that is good, and that you can dive into things that are hopefully more interesting and more impactful than just reviewing applications as you were. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel. Councilor Griego.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Mark, I miss when we used to all meet together with the Planning Commission and with other boards, but I really appreciate the update, and the fact that you guys are getting some kind of training and stuff. That's so important, especially for the new people coming in and stuff. It's with that training, it just keeps our community moving forward and forward. We just had a work session with Rachel and Deacon, and appreciate that you guys looked at the changes, the code changes for the housing and how that's going to help out with the housing situation we got. It's so important, but it's great to have you come and tell us, like Councilor Daniel says, these people that give of their time for their community to meet and staff too, so important. So to keep our community going and going. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Griego. Okay, I'll wrap things up. Mark, once again, thank you so very much for the update. We appreciate everything that you all do on the Planning Commission. And what I like the most about the group is that you work in harmony with our staff, with Deacon, Rachel, and Harry, and it shows. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Couldn't done it without Deacon, Rachel, and Steve and Nicole. It's amazing.
And Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Council, that brings us to the next item on the agenda. Resolution number 8-2021, the Alamosa Housing Authority Board size increase. Ms. Martinez, is that going to be you?
Actually, this one's going to be Rachel.
Oh, okay, Rachel.
Good evening again, Council. So the Alamosa Housing Authority Board has 7 members and they serve staggered terms. But in order to be better partners and support housing in our community and be more involved in housing organizations, we've asked the Housing Authority to increase their, or to to increase their board size to 9, but ultimately it's council's decision. We've had lots of discussions with the Housing Authority. I think there's a little bit of growing pains as we're trying to figure out how to integrate our two organizations. I think we had a really good meeting last week where we discussed this, and they did make a recommendation to expand their board to 9. So a lot of the conversations have just been, the city's always sort of had a hands-off relationship with the Housing Authority Board, and they've done a wonderful job. You know, they have a great organization, they run great houses, they have happy clientele, so they do great. And they have a really involved board, and a lot of them have served for a long time. But I think the city can be a better partner. And so when we meet, just listening to the projects they're working on, or talking about their PILT money, the payment in lieu of taxes money, and having that go towards improving or maintaining housing stock, because that accomplishes our goals in the housing plan. So actually a really good example of how our organizations could integrate is we had a really good discussion last week about the fact that they always pay for their building permit fees. And really that money could be going back into their houses and back into making improvements. And so me being part of the conversation and discussing those things with them, this size increase would allow me to be on the board as a city representative. It also allows the Housing Authority to one of their tenants on the board, which is actually required by state statute. So the options were kind of, we'd have to take a current member off the board to put one of their tenants on there, or we could expand the board, and then as a bonus, I get to be on the board and be part of those conversations as a voting member. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it.
Okay, thank you so much, Rachel. Counselor Carson?
I like the solution, and unless you guys have questions, I'd make a motion that we approve resolution 8-2021, increasing the membership of the Alamosa Housing Authority Board to 9 members and setting forth the manner of appointment.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Counselor? Any further discussion? So we have a motion, we have a second, so we're gonna open up for discussion. Right? Okay, good. Counselor Griego and then Counselor Rawls.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Rachel, this has been waited for a long, long time, you know, and you're right. I've served on the housing authority and stuff, and for years and years, it seemed like there was just a little island out there. Nobody wanted to deal with them. I think they came from the county at one time. If you look back at history and all that, and then they just became, but it's so important that we partner, and now especially with this housing plan that we're looking at, that we partner with them, make it even better than what they have done, you know. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I think it'll really help that same group that, like you said, they've got a lot of members that have been there a lot of years, and I hope they see that the positive of what's to come in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Griego. Okay, Counselor Rawls.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate just a little bit. And I think having a large board is also detrimental. Getting a quorum, getting people to serve. And so I'm skeptical, but on the other hand, I can see the benefits. So I just think down the road, we may regret having a 9-member board. Is there any thought about increasing that to maybe a 12-member board?
So Councilor Broyles, I think it was important, as Rachel covered the background, that this is something that the idea
Fix the
that
volume.
this is the volume working now?
Hold up just 1 second, Ms. Brooks.
That's all we got. And let me just interject, since we paused, 9 is the statutory maximum.
Okay, thank you.
We didn't hear.
And I don't, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Broyles, I just want to make sure that I remind everyone of what Rachel started off with, which is the idea was proposed to the Housing Authority on, would they want two of their members not to be able to be reappointed because of the tenant and city position? Or would they want to consider increasing it to the seats of 9? And so that is something they've discussed and think they can handle. It's also something in the future, if the quorum becomes an issue, they could always request of the city to lower it back down. And we could do it by a resolution at that point in time as well.
Okay, thank you for clarification, Ms. Brooks. Counselor Daniel?
Thank you, Mayor. I am currently serving as the City Council Liaison for the Housing Authority, and I have to agree with Rachel that I think they're doing an excellent job. I think Mr. Cooper's leadership and Anna's leadership, there's a lot of really, really good things happening. I know that this was a challenging discussion as it started, but I do think that having the city partner in this way and having it be a formal relationship versus the liaison relationship that we currently have, I think will make it better for both of us, truthfully. And so I'm very excited about it. And I'm excited that the Housing Authority and the city team came to an agreement. And as for the quorum, sometimes there are quorum issues because some people, things happen. However, I would say that the Housing Authority Board is one of the boards that I enjoy attending because so many of their members attend so often. And I think they do a really good job of maintaining that quorum and do a really good job of representing their community well.
Thank you, Counselor Daniel. Okay, so we have a motion, a second. No further discussion. I'm just going to add that I am pleased with the work that they're doing as well. And I'm glad that the city and them have come to this resolution. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion, second, no further discussion. Please start voting. Ms. Martinez?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, the Alamosa Housing Authority Board appointments and reappointments. I believe all of you have been presented with ballot to vote. Ms. Martinez, do you want to go over this with us?
Yeah, so basically what you just heard, so the board did increase the board member size to 9. So it allows the city to appoint the city representative, it allows for the tenant representative, and it allows for 4 current board members to be reappointed. So staff is recommending the Development Services Director to be appointed to serve as the city representative, and then there's no term limit on that appointment. The tenant representative, the Housing Authority Board recommended Martha Showman back in September, but it is your decision to vote on it. And then the 4 other board members whose terms have gone beyond their 5-year limit and they've all requested reappointment are Daryl Cooper, Berlene Wooten, Mary Ellen Fleming, and Marcela Garcia. So if those 4 are reappointed, their term limits will expire 6/1/2025 for 1 appointment, which would be, I think it's Berlene Wooten's. I think hers is the one that's the 2025, and then 6/1/2026 for the other 3, and the tenant representative term will expire 6/1/2026.
Okay, so council, if you could fill out your ballots and put them up to where Ms. Martinez can have them. Okay.
Okay, and your votes, you have reappointed all of those ones that are on the list. So if you can make a motion just to finalize that, that would be great.
Mayor, I move that we approve all those that we voted for tonight to be on the Alamosa Housing Authority Board.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and further comments. I see Council Grego.
I'd just like to make a comment. I appreciate this is a mayor appointment type of deal, but the mayor allows the whole council to participate. So I appreciate that we get a chance to look at the applicants and actually have input on it. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council Grego, and I thank all of you for your support because I believe it should be all of us making this decision since we do work together. And thank you, Council Grego, for bringing that up tonight. Okay, we have a motion, a second. No further discussion. We start voting. Okay.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. Development Services. First reading of ordinance number 23-2021, an ordinance amending section 21-4, 504H2A.
That's me
Oh,
again.
There you go, there you go.
I'm so short, you can't see me over the podium.
Okay.
So this is the follow-up to our work session that we had a few weeks ago about doing the ribbed metal material as fencing. Again, it just needs to be explicitly stated in the code. Our metal materials are lined out explicitly, and pro panel or, sheet metal this way is not described in there. You can't even have a corrugated metal fence, and those are actually quite popular. So this is just a fix for something that's already commonly occurring, but because we have long interpreted the code to disallow this, it needs to be a council decision and it needs to be a formal change to the UDC.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Carson, I believe, or was it Counselor Henson? One of you.
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance on first reading and set for public hearing on November 17th, 2021 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard.
I'll
Thank
second.
you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No? Okay, let's get ready to start voting again. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Martinez.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Council. Up next, we have City Manager Legal, public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 22-2021, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to sign the Colorado Opiates Settlement Memorandum of Understanding. It's going to be you, Ms.
That'll be me, Mayor. Thank you. As we discussed at first reading, the nationwide opioid litigation is proposed to be settled by the various states spearheading for each of their states a distribution scheme for the settlement funds. Nothing really has changed between first and second reading other than the fact that earlier this week, the opioid manufacturers successfully defended one of these lawsuits in California. It was brought by a number of local and I think state jurisdictions also in California and was decided in the California State Court. It's not part of this multi-district federal litigation. I do not believe that is going to have any impact on the proposed settlement. As far as I am aware, that is still on the table. What we are, or what you are doing tonight is authorizing the city manager to sign 4 documents that are associated with allowing the city to participate in that settlement. We went through those on first reading, and I just want to remind council that the way that this is set up is to try to maximize the amount of settlement funds that will be going to the state of Colorado. That means that 95% of certain jurisdictions, which are litigating jurisdictions and any jurisdiction over 10,000 people, 95% of those, of which we are one, need to sign on. And one of the documents is an escrow agreement whereby CML will hold our signed agreements until that 95% threshold is reached so that we do maximize the return to the state of Colorado. If it's not reached, we're back to the drawing board. So the hope statewide is that we'll get that 95% participation. So unless council has any questions, I think we're ready for a public hearing.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for the second reading of ordinance number 22-21, an ordinance authorizing our city manager to sign the Colorado Opiate Settlement Memorandum of Understanding. So if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make any comments at this time, please come up to the podium. Okay, I don't see anyone in the audience who coming up to the podium. So Ms. Martinez, will you please open it up for any participants on Zoom to raise their hands and make any comments?
Yes, sir. If you're on the Zoom app and you want to make a comment for this ordinance, use the raise your hand feature in the bottom of your screen or dial *9.
Okay, I don't see anyone in the, on Zoom. So we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back over to council. Councilor Carson.
Make a motion that we approve on second reading ordinance 22-2021, authorizing the city manager to sign various opioid agreements.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you, council. Any further discussion? No? Okay. Could start voting, please. Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
The motion carried unanimously.
All right, thank you. Okay, up next on the agenda, we have a public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 2021 and ordinance amending section 1-18B of Code of Ordinances of the City of Alamosa, making charges that are otherwise non-jailable offenses jailable.
Thank you, Mayor. Council has discussed this both in a work session and at first reading, so I won't belabor the point. The long and short of this ordinance essentially streamlines the current process for treating four offenses within 2 years as jailable by allowing the city prosecutor to pull that jailable notion off the table by oral motion in open court, as well as by written motion, which is the only option, written option, as the ordinance currently stands.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sweezow. So now we're going to open up a public hearing for this and second reading of ordinance number 2021 and ordinance amending section 1-18B of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alamosa, making charges that were otherwise non-jailable offenses jailable upon the fourth offense within 2 years upon written or oral motion of the prosecutor. So is there anyone out there in the audience who would like to come up and make any comments in the hearing? Please do so. Okay, once again, there's no one coming up to the podium. So now we would offer an extended invitation to those who are on Zoom.
And if you're on Zoom and you want to speak for this one, use the raise your hand feature in the bottom of your screen or dial *9.
Okay, don't see anyone on Zoom. So we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Council Griego.
If there's no further questions, I'll make the motion that we approve ordinance number 2021.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Any further discussion? Okay. Okay, if you could start voting, please. Ms. Martinez?
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you, council. Thank you. All right, next we have public hearing and second reading for ordinance number 21-2021. An ordinance repealing section 1-18E4 and amending section 13-57B of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Alamosa concerning the right to a trial by jury to make the code provisions comport with state law.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This, as we've discussed on first reading, is essentially a housekeeping ordinance. We have two provisions in our Code of Ordinances that are not consistent with state law concerning the right to jury trials in municipal court. One of them we don't need at all, so the ordinance just deletes that provision. The other one is rewords the right to a jury trial to make it consistent with state law. And in particular, state law provides that even if an offense is not jailable, a municipal ordinance offense is not jailable, if it is if it has a counterpart in state law that is jailable, a defendant has a right to a jury trial. So this rewords the code provision to be consistent with that state law requirement.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're going to open up the public hearing in the second reading for ordinance number 21-2021 and ordinance repealing section 1-18E4 and amending section 13-57B of the Code of Ordinances. Okay, so if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make any comments, please come up to the podium. Okay, no one's coming up to the podium, so now we'll go ahead and open it up for the Zoom participants.
And if you're on Zoom and want to speak, use the raise your hand feature in the bottom or dial *9 if you're on a phone.
Okay. Don't see anyone on Zoom with their hand raised. So we'll go ahead now and close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, I just wanted to say thank you. I think this has made it easier for us instead of trying to do it all in the one like we had originally. So I just want to say thank you for your work on this. I really appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Councilor Daniel. Okay,
With that, I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance 2021-2021 on second reading.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all right. Start voting, please. Thank you.
The motion carried unanimously.
All right, thank you. Thank you, council. That brings us down the agenda to committee reports. Have anyone with committee reports? Please turn your light on. No committee reports tonight. Okay, thank you. That brings us down to staff announcements. Ms. Brooks.
Mayor, tonight, we just have two, and the city clerk's gonna cover those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to remind council that the city clerk and municipal court office is going to close at 3 tomorrow, Thursday, and will be closed all day on Friday in order for us to attend training. And then for the executive session next week on Wednesday, it's at 6 p.m. The judge will be coming back as well, and it'll be myself and the city attorney also. So I'll go first, and then the judge will come to speak with you, and then Eric will go.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Good job. Okay, well, that brings us on down to council comments. You turn your mics on, I'll recognize you in the order that I see you. Any council comments? Okay, well, everybody did at the same time. All right, so we'll go from Councilor Daniel all the way to the end, and then we'll start over here and go that way. How about that? All right, good deal.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say congratulations to Councilor Carson, Mayor Coleman, and Councilor Behill, as well as soon-to-be Councilor Woodward. I'm very excited to see that, and I'm sad to see Councilor Broyles go. I really appreciated the time with him, and I know we've got some more meetings with him until then, but yesterday was a really neat day, I think, for our community. So I just wanted to say thank you for that and congratulations, as well as all of the support everyone on this team and the city team has given me over the last couple of weeks. I really appreciate it and just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you, Councilor Daniel. Okay, Councilor Brawl.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just had a comment. This being nearly my last meeting, and I want to say that congratulations to those who won the election. Good job. And I want to say, I really enjoy city council. You're a high caliber people and high level. And what I enjoy most is each one has their own skill that you bring to city council. And I really appreciate Council Daniels here for teaching me more about mental health behavior. And so it's really been a pleasure serving. And I really appreciate that. Really, my only frustration, it's probably my fault, is that I've not had more input into street improvements. When I first got on council, we had orientation. They said, oh, by the way, the streets are here's the streets and they've been approved for the next 4 years. I thought, well, that's good and bad. And then I have a couple of streets people keep asking me about. And I've asked about them, passed them on. And the answer's been, well, when we have enough money, that's in the unfunded part. And when we get enough money, we will do those projects. Now, these are small projects. I'm talking, when I say small, 250,000 or so. But, you know, I feel if you go back to the last budget, when we had the budget meeting, I feel the city has the cash now. If you look at today's financial statement, in the general fund is 6.4 million. And it exceeds what was given to us on this graph. Do I remember this graph? If we do the capital improvements, how it goes down. Well, it starts at 4.8 million. And we can go to 2031. Well, now we got 6.4 million. So I think we can go past 2031. But I'm asking City Council to consider, you know, some small projects. I like what my successor said in the paper. Mr. Woodard, he said, I'm running to make sure all residents have greater voice in city matters. Ensure that City Council is focused on the needs of residents and business alike. Well, I think we all have that attitude. I've had that attitude. But I would just like, you know, I would just like to see us do a little bit more to please our citizens. And I bring up a couple of, you know, I look at Ward 2, we got that Market Street. If you go north on from City Market, that's very narrow. You got apartments there. And I continually get comments, why can't we widen that? And I think at one time, it may have been approved, but you know, the cost is somewhere around, I was told at that time, about $80,000. And then I know Councilor Grego, you have Chico and Sage and Catlin over there, that some improvements can be done there. And then we have the senior citizens. You know, in their little flyer, it says Colorado Avenue, 92 Colorado Avenue. Well, Colorado Avenue is unpaved. And we got seniors, 175 seniors there. We got respiratory problems. What touched my heart, we had an event and the guy could not park, he had to park out on First Avenue. So he was pushing his walker across that dirt road. And his comment, and I went and helped him. And his first comment was, Mr. Broyles, when's the city going to pay this? Well, I think, you know, it would be a great gesture. I'm saying the city has the money. And according to Harry, when I got the email through Heather, the cost of that to the north entrance is $250,000. And I think that's well within the money that we have to be able to do that. And so I'm asking some way if we can get this on the agenda and discuss it more and either approve it or not approve it. So it doesn't continue to linger for them, you know, because these items will continually come up. Whoever is the liaison to the senior citizens is going to hear about Colorado Avenue almost every meeting they go to. So I'm just saying, let's do a little bit more. Let's help our residents. And you'll have 175 citizens that will praise us. And we're improving their lives. So that's kind of my speech I give tonight. So thank you for hearing me out. And
Thank you, Councilor Broyles.
carry on the way you like to, Council.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Broyles. And just so that people won't be misunderstood with the comments that Councilor Broyles just made, Ms. Brooks, did you want to make any comments to that before we move on to the next council?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think it's important for the public to understand the process and where the funds come from a city perspective. I was a little confused with the opening comments related to not having much say on the selection of street projects, because I know we council, and I think it's this existing council, selected a street committee group, which was representatives from all the different wards, to prioritize the streets that we have in our community. And As expected, because we were only able to spend between 500 to 800,000 a year, our streets, there's a long list of streets that need repairs in the city of Alamosa. And so that initial list that was prioritized by the residents that were appointed by city council was easily over 70 streets that were under consideration. And they looked at the number of vehicles that travel those streets. They looked at if it's access to different areas, and they take a look at if there's connectivity issues, and then what the repair or disrepair was for those different streets. That recommendation was then forwarded to this existing council, which held a pretty lengthy work session to take that feedback and prioritize what it felt was the important streets to put before voters for the dedicated street sales tax. And so council spent several hours. There was a lot of different opinions that was expressed during that work session. A lot of weight put on some of the perceptions that are out in the community related to the north side, south side. You know, and there's no arguing that there are a lot of streets, and all of the streets Councilor Broyles has listed were streets that were taken into consideration both by that citizen task force as well as the city council when you created and approved the resolution that put before voters the dedicated street sales tax. And that resolution was a promise both from our integrity as a city, but also a legal promise, because that language was put into the language that voters actually voted on. And so that resolution lays out what those streets are. We legally have to follow what that resolution has. The only wiggle room, if you want to call it that the city can have is if we were able to get a grant for one of those streets that's in the resolution but might be a little further down, we can move it up if we're able to get a grant for it or something like that. But we cannot change out the streets that are in that resolution. And in addition to the streets that were identified, council also laid out the streets that if we have extra funding and we get through that first list, then those are the streets that are there. So it very much was a public driven process that council spent a lot of time looking at the different reasons why some streets were higher priorities than others. The other concern then is, so I'm saying this to say we cannot use the dedicated street sales tax. That means the only place we can pull this funding from would be the general fund. And I know that there's been a lot of discussions behind the scenes on this, but the city does not have the revenue in order to add these projects in, which is why I thought when we approved the budget, that was a done deal. We can go over the capital reserve fund again and how that money is already allocated for the projects identified in the CIP by city council when you recently voted. And the street to do near the senior center is 800,000 without engineering. So we're looking at about $1 million. And so it's not a small project. These are discussions that would have been warranted as part of the budget work sessions that we had. If you want to cut $1 million in the CIP and the general fund, then you would have room for this. And but that's the discussion council would need to be having. We don't have extra funding that's sitting around and not being put towards use. And so it's just a continuing difference of opinion that we have on that. And at a different meeting, if you want me to have myself and the finance director go more into details of those fundings, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks, for clarification. Appreciate that. Counselor, is it Vihil next? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So with what Mr. Boyles just said, I agree that we cannot touch anything in that street trust fund. That's 100% locked in. We're not going to change nothing like that. Heather, I'm glad that you mentioned also that we because our sales tax is performing so well, we're able to move those projects in that up a year and 2 years. And if it keeps performing well, we can keep doing that over the next 8 years. My question to you is Colorado Avenue, is that street on an unfunded piece of that street sales?
No, there is not there's not an unfunded for that dedicated street sales tax. There's the backup streets that would be moved up. And no, Colorado Avenue is not on it. Now, Colorado Avenue was discussed by both council and the citizen group. I think the other street that Councilor Broyle brought up is Market Street. Market Street has only ever been in the unfunded on the CIP. It was never shown, I looked at the previous budgets, it was never shown as funded in the CIP, and it is not part of the dedicated street sales tax.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is, can you comment on, because I don't understand either. I would like more information in the financials for this month, or the one that was just posted. As Mr. Broyle said, it's 6.4 million. But in that chart, as Mr. Broyle says, we're at about 4.8 million. Where's the difference in that? Or can you just please help me understand that?
So the main difference is that the financials that Councilor Broyles is looking at is Lisa in the room?
Yes.
So Lisa, if you want to come up in case I say something incorrect, that would be good. But it doesn't, the difference is the capital reserve fund. And so that's when there was this discussion that we have this extra $2 million, which we don't have an extra $2 million. That capital reserve fund is, it's like when we know we're purchasing the fire truck that's coming up, that's over $500,000. And we put that into the graph each for those years that we're going to be purchasing the equipment, but we don't use it as the starting fund balance. It's just the general fund balance for the graph. Lisa, am I capturing that correctly?
Yeah, you are.
Turn on your mic, Lisa.
And I think
Turn on your mic.
You can tell I've been up here a lot. Can you hear me now? So yeah, you said it right, Heather. And I think a lot of confusion comes too, because when the auditors come and they do our financial statements at the end, they combine that capital improvement fund with the general fund to combine a fund balance for us. And so it does make it a little bit more confusing when you're looking at the stuff, but we have separated it out so that we can have that savings going on in there. And we are doing really well on our sales tax.
So council, this is becoming a meeting about meetings to where we've had these discussions in the proper format, to where if you all would have showed up to the meetings, we wouldn't be having a long discussion about this. So just let's kind of wrap this up, because we don't need to start having another meeting when we've had ample time to have these discussions.
Well, I'm just going to say there's been
I don't agree.
several,
I don't agree at all.
I
these are
think
discussions
there's
that
been
need to be
several
had later.
misstatements here.
Okay, well, we can do that.
Brought up a
Mr.
point,
Chairman.
this is going out comment, and it's not necessary to rehash what we know. The funds are rigid, but it's worth talking about it at a later time.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I was just asking a clarifying question, man. That's all I was doing.
Well, a lot of these answers, these questions have been answered, but go ahead, Lisa.
No, I'm just listening to you guys to see where I'm gonna go from this. But I'm happy to meet with anybody, as is Heather, at any point in time. And if we need to have a special meeting or do something at a time after this so that we can coalesce all the questions, we can do that. And I can definitely send an email out to you all addressing the 6.4 and the 4.8 a little bit more directly, so you can have it in writing and think about it.
Okay, that's probably
And-
be
and-
best.
Council
Yeah.
does have a process to put something on the agenda if you want to do that. And I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's in your policy manual.
We'll go through that.
Yeah, we'll follow that process, Mr. Sweezow. So, Councilor Rio, did you have any other follow-up comments?
Yeah, I did. I wanted just to thank everybody who voted for me yesterday. Want to thank Donnie Bautista for a clean professional race. He made me a better counselor, and I appreciate everybody who voted for me. And I'm looking forward to working with you all for the next 4 years.
Thank you, Councilor Rio. Counselor Grego.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the comments that Darrell Cooper made at the beginning of the meeting. You know, it takes a lot for somebody to throw their hat in to run for a position on council, school board, county commissioner. It takes a lot, you know. That only tells you that that person cares about their community and they want to contribute. So all the people that ran and the people that were successful in the race, you know, it's so important that people continue getting involved. And I thank you for your comments. You hit it right on the nose. It's something, it's a hard deal. And, you know, I've been doing it for a long time and I know what the process is and how hard it is. So also, I know that we got another meeting with Mr. Burrows and I'm still mad at him, but for not running, but what he's done and what you've contributed and what everybody contributes on this council is great. You know, you have given to this, you've taught us a lot of stuff, you know, continue even to tonight where the mayor finally says, hey, we'll have that discussion later. But it's so important that we all teach, we all learn from each other, you know, and sometimes we don't like what we hear, but that's why we're here to represent the community. And just as our counselor said, that all it takes is 4 counselors to bring up whatever issue they want to discuss, and they give staff direction. Staff doesn't give us direction. Staff give us the information to make a good, solid decision. But it's council that is elected to represent the people. And if the people out there are asking you, we want this street done, or we want this done, and you get 4 counselors that are going to be able to bring it to a council meeting at the right proper time, you can do that. You know, and I think sometimes we lose that focus. And sure, staff is in charge of the monies and in charge of giving us the right direction and stuff, but we still have the final voice of where we want to go if we want to go there. And all it takes is 4 people, 4 council people. So thank you, David. And like I said, you know, we'll continue listening to the people out there. And if something comes up, and even the budget, you know, and it's strong enough, if you can get 4 people to say, let's look at it, we will look at it. I promise you. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Griego. Councilor Carson, then Councilor Hensley.
I just wanted to congratulate everybody that ran last night and look forward to another good 4 years. And like other people have said tonight, it takes a lot to step up to these public positions, you know, city council, county, school board. And so I commend everybody that did. I thank you, Councilor Broyles. You have taught me a lot. You taught us all a lot, like Charlie said, and continue to look, you know, and talk to you about things in the future. I really enjoy our conversations. And like Councilor Griego said, this is a very representative council of its people, and we don't always agree. We do have disagreements, but that's why we're so good at this job. And I really look forward to another 4 years. So thank you, guys. Thank you for all you do for our city and our community. And thank you, staff.
Thank you, Councilor Carson. Councilor Hensley, none. Okay, so I think we got everybody. Okay, I'll just wrap things up. We had the Montana Zoo Park dedication earlier this week. I believe Councilor Vio was at that in attendance, and as well as staff. I want to thank the staff right now for everyone who put that together and who really worked on the park. I mean, Harry and Rachel, from what I understand, you all did a lot of heavy lifting, making sure that your team really stepped up and really made things happen that was real hard to do. Thank you for doing that. And Andy, thank you for helping out with the comments the other day as well, and making sure that everybody else was acknowledged. It really took a team effort. It was a lot of firsts that happened with the building of that park. And hopefully that will set the tone for future development opportunities. So thank you all so much. And Andy and Heather wanted me to make sure that I recognize the importance that you two and the role you played in this park being developed. I also would like to thank all of the candidates who ran for office, and for those who won and those who were not able to win this time. But thank you. It takes a a lot to run for elected office, but I wish everyone much success in the future to come. Next week, I will be out of town on vacation. So I will have the Mayor Pro Tem preside over the work session that we have. So I won't be in attendance via Zoom or anything next week. And that's all I have. So thank you, council. Thank you, staff. Thank you, citizens and residents of Alamosa, for everything that you do to make our community great. Good night. Meeting adjourned, everybody. Thank you.